Hello, good morning, good afternoon. It is Sidkriken, and we are back again. And you already know what time it is. It is podcast time. Welcome back. For anyone who is obviously viewing the second episode, if you have viewed the first episode of the Krikeycast, welcome back. Welcome back. If you're just new and you're starting to get started and you're seeing this for the first time, welcome to the Krikeycast. This is basically a podcast dedicated to a lot of things that I love to talk about when it comes to my passions, maybe certain topics that you guys love to give to me from time to time, which we'll be talking about later on at the end of this podcast, and a bunch of other things. But of course, if you are new and you're listening for the first time, I know some of you guys are probably listening in audio form, or some of you guys are listening or watching in video form, which is hello. How are you? Definitely go and check out in the description down below the last podcast that I did, which was the first one, which was an introduction. A lot of awesome stuff was said there. And let's get right into the second episode, which I'm definitely going to not be naming too much often, with a lovely introduction. Imagine the possibilities you could create for yourself if you can always keep your mind at peace and away from negative and energy drainers. Think about that for a minute. Think about everything that you've always wanted to do, and think about exactly what type of people that you have around you, the people that you have in your normal circle, even family. Some people always expect, when it comes to people who might be negative or quote unquote energy drainers, people that just you feel mentally tired and depleted after being around them for quite some time. It's not always friends or loved ones. It's sometimes it's actually your family, and you probably don't even know it too much. Maybe you love your family, and that's totally understandable, but of course that's not always the case. So yes, episode 2. Oh boy, what are you going to talk about this time, Sid? I did want to talk about and start off with about myself. I know some people are going to like, wow. But yes, the whole theme of this episode specifically is about oneself and learning about yourself as an individual. I did talk about the ideas of, in the first one, to kind of, spoil a little bit, as an introduction of talking about, I guess to say things that you've always wanted to do, things that you've been passionate about, and how to do that. This episode is a little bit different. I rather wanted to talk about my life experiences and a shorter form, and some of the learning lessons that I've kind of learned from those mistakes of just going through all that stuff. So yes, knowing more about me and getting to know more about me. I've always grown up as like a shy kid. I wasn't really talkative. I still kind of am a little iffy when it comes to talking to people. It's just how I am. But I'm slowly but surely, I'm learning more to be not introverted, more extroverted. At times I kind of feel more extroverted than introverted, but I mean, it's how I am. But yeah, I grew up as a very shy kid. It was really hard for me to make friends at some point in time, around maybe middle school, around that time, like early middle school, when I first got into middle school, because I already had friends that I knew. I had friends that, of course, I knew from elementary that came through to middle school that, with me around that time. And I hanged out with them, I talked to them as much as I could. And it just, to me, it felt very awkward making new friends, because I don't know. It's just something with me. It was like, I already had friends, these friends I talked to from time to time. And as well, too, I think it was just a really terrible excuse for me to say, because I think possibly for me, I was really, really terrible at initiating conversations with people. Like I said, I wasn't really a talkative person. I wasn't really the greatest with starting conversations with people as I am now, which, I'm still kind of working on that. But it's just how I was as a kid. And it's something that I learned more about myself over time to improve, getting into high school. And then, of course, how school has always just makes you forced to talk to people, to make friends, and to interact with people. You're always kind of pushed out of that comfort zone. And I mean, I've had a ton of awesome friends that I've known since high school that I still talk to now. I still keep in communications with. But after high school, it feels like you're back to square one again. You're like, dang, do I really got to talk to people again? Like, is this something I really want to do? Or, stuff like that. I don't know where it comes from. maybe it's just that sense of, I guess, maybe social anxiety that I have in me, a little bit of it. Some people have, I guess, different maybe levels of social anxiety. I don't really know if that's a thing, but um, social anxiety is a thing. Yes, of course. It is sometimes hard to talk to people. Sometimes you feel like maybe I do want to interact, maybe I don't want to interact, and it becomes um, like a complication within yourself mentally. You're obviously making it a lot more complicated for yourself by just saying, do I want to talk to this person? I don't know. I don't want to feel like my time is being wasted if I'm not interested in talking to this person, or da da da. All that other stuff, it happens, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us go through it like every single day. It's one of those things that we have. But I've obviously learned that lesson over time with just doing videos and streaming, which is rather interesting to talk about. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this tons of times before in older videos. But I've always felt that when it comes to what it is with doing videos in YouTube, I originally started because I felt that it was a lot of fun. I always loved the idea of just like, wow, this looks like so much fun. People just playing video games and talking over it and just, making people's days and stuff like that. I, you know, I've always loved the idea of that, and hence why I started doing it, because I found it to be so much fun, so much of just being able to have the opportunity to not only just kind of play a game, but to add maybe some commentary, maybe some jokes, maybe some skits, maybe this or that, or whatever it may be. I always felt that it was just a really fun time, so I just kind of went into it not knowing anything else and just kind of learning along the way. But what really did help a lot was just learning how to talk into a camera. I know a lot of people who are very, 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 introverted people that probably don't even talk to people that much publicly. But when they're at home, they can just never stop talking. And that's how I feel sometimes. I feel like I'm that type of person. So I've learned and I've grown to just talk to a camera, which is, I think, in some cases is good, because, I mean, you can learn the more that you keep doing it, the more that, you feel like if you're talking to an actual person, sometimes it might help a little bit more, because you kind of feel a little bit more relaxed, rather than not talking at all. And then having the moment to have a conversation with someone, you just start panicking because you don't know what to say or anything like that. So that's definitely what I've learned on, for the most part, is just with YouTube and streaming, is talking more and learning to not be shy as I used to be, and interacting with people. I think one of the biggest things I would have to say that comes with what it is that I do, which is obviously as I stream and do videos and other things, is interacting. I feel that for me, I love interactivity, but another thing that kind of makes it harder for me, or harder on myself to say, excuse me, harder on myself, is where I really need to interact with people to get to know people. Because in a business and a market that is streaming, online entertainment, in other words, your personality is pretty much everything. Now, you're going to have to interact with people regardless. And that's something that I have done for years. And I've kind of like gone back into that small shell of just not talking to people as much, because I have like a huge group of friends that I already know, and I feel comfortable with that. And I've kind of learned to push more out of that comfort zone, to break that mold, and to actually interact and talk with other different people, regardless if it was a good experience or a bad experience. You have to learn from that. You have to go and make mistakes, so then you can learn from that anyways, as corny and as cliche as it may sound. But it's something that for me, I had to learn a lot. It's something for me I had to really come to terms that I have to do, because for one, of course, I do want to make new friends. I do want to talk to amazing other, content creators and streamers and YouTubers like that, because I've made friends that way. I've made a ton of friends within, different platforms and communities by just being able to interact with them. And without that, I haven't really had the chance to do that. But for me, and for, I know a lot of you guys who probably go through the same thing of just like, I don't know if I want to talk to this person, or if I want to, and, I'm a content creator and I want to grow, it is a thing that you really do have to push out of your comfort zone to do, because once you do, you started making a lot of friends that you never knew. Was like, wow, these people are really awesome. Like, I love talking to these people. I love interacting with them and being in their streams and watching their videos a lot. It grows more of a foundation to improve on yourself in the social aspect, quote unquote, the social aspect. I think a lot of that benefits mostly from just pushing out of that zone, but for the most part, that's what I get from it. Another thing that I always feel is surrounding yourself around people. One of the biggest things that I always had an issue with was I had an issue a lot of the time with being around people, specifically in, I would say, like high school and outside of school. Not all the time, but I mean, there was just a lot of people that were pretty much either very negative or I would say energy drainers. So it's understandable that for me, as an individual who really, I value a lot of the time that I put into either things or people or whatever it may be, because a lot of us don't want to feel like our time is being wasted. And it makes sense. It makes sense for some people that generally, if they talk to someone, they feel, all right, when I talk to you, I feel like, you're a person that we can vibe off of each other. It's good. It's not destructive. It's rather constructive than destructive to say. And, I enjoy talking to you as it is, nowadays. And a lot of people kind of learn from that. But it's something that it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of trial and error. Like I said, as a content creator, as a broadcaster, and as someone who really values the idea of just a community and wanting to do things, you have to interact with one another, especially within, that community or that platform. And for me, it's been something that has been really hard. For a lot of guys that are listening, of course, if you have any other experiences that you guys have felt that maybe you could improve on, or something that you feel has kind of impacted you in a way to, I guess, not talk to people, and things that kind of make it harder for you to talk to people, definitely let me know in the comment section down below your experiences. I would love to kind of interact and get to an idea of why sometimes, because like I said, a lot of people don't really talk. They don't really tend to talk to other people as much because either, some people are really busy, they can't really talk as much, or they don't want to give a lot of people the time of the day, because especially nowadays with a lot of people who just want to waste your time, or just, they drain your energy and you feel like, I don't want to even do anything anymore. It's just, it takes some time. Also, thank you, phone. I really do appreciate that very much. But yes, going to our third topic into everything as well too. Just mental health in general. I think when it comes to us as people and what we always want to know how to do things and improve, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that mental health is very, very important for anyone, for a content creator, for an individual. Literally, mental health is one of the biggest things that is very, 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 very important. And a lot of people do take that for granted. They don't really spend too much time on it. Some people have learned that lesson the hard way. But I would say to anyone that's listening to this, please, 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 please take care of your own mental health. If you feel that you're not okay or anything, reach out to someone. Definitely talk to someone. It doesn't matter if it's a family member or a friend or a parent or a content creator or something. Talk to someone. There is always a person out there who can relate to you and who can help you get through these things. There's always like websites and stuff to Google and all the good stuff. But mental health is very much an important thing. It's something that I've learned about over the years, and that, of course, has been rather interesting, because for me, I really didn't have any of those sort of issues until like maybe I would say 2016, where I had I was rather to say going through a lot of stuff, and moving and going through relationships and friendships and all this other stuff that I never really expected for me to happen, because the type of people that I chose and just talking to them and thinking that everything was all right. But that's not really the case, and that's not how life works. It was a rather interesting time for me because it was a time of reflection. It was a time of where I had to look back at myself, and I had to look back at who it was I was talking to, who I was putting energy into, who I was associating myself with, all these different things. And even now, I take all those important moments from that time into account heavily, 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 heavily. And a lot of you guys should definitely do that too, because it does affect mental health, the type of people that you're around, what topics you guys are talking about, stuff like that. There's a lot of things that go into it, and it's very important because once your mental is gone, you can't recover that back. And it's very scary to think about that because, it's the same thing about like, your health. Health is your wealth. Mental health nowadays is something that a lot of people, like I said, are skimming past. Excuse me. And it's something that is very scary because with a lot of social media and people wanting, validation and confirmation about like what it is that they do. A lot of people like that. A lot of people like the idea, like, I like it when people talk to me. I like it when people give me like some sort of validation. That happens to all of us. Like, not gonna lie, that happens to all of us, including me. We all like that sense of feeling of that. And sometimes it could be a little bit toxic towards ourselves and unhealthy. So we have to sometimes step back and look at ourselves and be like, is this healthy? Is this something that I want for myself? Is this something that is okay for me mentally? Or is it straining me? Is it making me not feel like I want to do these things? A lot of the stuff we have to ask ourselves. And it is very, very, very important because you don't want to lose your mental. You don't want to. It's not, I would say, not a really good feeling whatsoever. And it's something that for anyone, you wouldn't want to wish for anyone, period, So definitely try to find ways to improve on that. Researching is everything too. People don't want to research. They don't want to research, but do that. Please do that. Please research on these things. If you ever feel something is wrong, or if you always like want to learn something more, researching and gaining knowledge on it is better than not knowing at all. And it's very, very helpful when it comes to a problem or something that you've experienced before that you can learn from because you have the certain knowledge needed to kind of understand more of where you're coming from and what to do to combat that situation when it comes towards you, or if it's, a family member or something in some other situation like that. Now, moving into our next topic, making your dreams come true regardless of what anyone tells you. This is something that I know kind of correlates from the first one and going into this one about, imagine the possibilities that you could create for yourself. Nowadays, when it comes to what it is that we do and social media and everything, I've noticed that there's a huge, I guess to say, like, system of people that just, they grow into this kind of system of narcissism and the system of putting other people down. And they don't really, these type of people don't really kind of look through. They don't see what it is that they're trying to do. And I've noticed that about a lot of things. I've noticed that about a lot about like friends and family and other different things where people don't like it when you're doing things for yourself. People don't like it when you are trying to better yourself. And that is a shame. I don't understand why people feel this way. And it saddens me. I've gone through many different type of relationships and friendships where people were genuinely jealous that I was actually trying to better myself, that I was trying the best that I can to improve and want to not only like just do good things for other people, but also want to like make new friends and do other things. People got really upset at the idea of that, and it's so heartbreaking because a lot of these people are friends that you've most likely known, friends that you've talked to, who you're probably good friends with, and the moment that things start getting really good for you, then all of a sudden people start to switch up on that and they start getting jealous and other things like that, which is a shame because you understand that as I understand the difference of being real and fake in the situation of, if you're a friend of mine, you know me, and it's cool because there's other opportunities for other friends as well too, and sometimes you might not be able to do that, but as well too, you get to be around these people. You get to be around the people that are, that are doing great things, that are being able to do amazing things, and you get to say, I know that person. That person is an awesome individual, and that person inspires me. But it's easier for someone to say, I don't think that person deserves that. I think that I should deserve that because I've worked harder, or I am the one who's blah, 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 X, Y, and Z, da, da, da. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. I have no understanding why. And like I said, I mean, actually, I can't say that I have no understanding why. I do have an understanding why. A lot of people become either jealous and they become malicious that they are not doing things. And for me, as a person, I've never understood the idea of jealousy. I thought it was a really dumb thing. Jealousy in general is a very dumb thing. And it happens to all of us. But the idea is that, why would you be jealous of someone for what the things that they have when you could work just as hard as them and just as smart as them, and you can have those things with them and you could be alongside with them? That's what I would think of it. And people don't really think about that. Like I said, there's a huge system nowadays when it comes to like social media and many other different things that kind of ruins the idea of just decency. Like, people wanting to be happy for one another. Rather, they would try to tarnish and destroy another person's career because they want them at a certain level. And I've learned that a lot of ways, dude. It's unreal. It's not fair, because people don't want to look from your point of view. They only want to look from their point of view because from their point of view, they would think, I know this person, quote unquote, long enough. This is what I see them as, and they don't want to see your point of view. They don't want to sit down. They don't want to see from your point of view on what it is that you're going through or what it is that you're trying to do to get these measures or anything, and just want to trash you in general. And it's a shame. But regardless, forget about these people. These people have no benefit towards you. Even if you as an individual, you start growing, you start improving yourself as a human being, and you get rid of these people, you're making your dreams come true. You're making your life cleaner and happier because you don't have to deal with toxic people like this anymore. And you are able to improve on that. That's what life is all about. Life is to improve as a human being, to be able to inspire, to help other human beings to do what it is they want to do. I might sound preach right now, but I'm just saying. That's truly what it is. That's truly what I feel life is. And if there's people out there that are, friends or family that want to tarnish you because of that want to talk behind your back, that want to try to betray you and use your trust as a thing to just kind of abuse you, is awful. And nobody should have to go through that. Also, there's a vacuum behind. So, fun times. But yes, of course, I think that's a really good thing to kind of wrap it up here because, of course, I have a vacuum. The Bob's doing vacuum in the background. But yes, I just want to say to anyone who's been really interested in these podcasts, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. A lot of what I said, this podcast is, it's not only, like I said, about me, but it's a lot of things that I love to talk about, a lot of things that I do incorporate, and a lot of things that I enjoy a lot. It is something that I do like to take a lot of time into making the topics and the introductions to kind of reeling you guys in to sit down and listen. So again, if you guys have any sort of questions for me, feel free to leave them down below. Of course, if any of you guys are interested, of course, I do other things other than podcasts. Obviously, I am a content creator myself. I'm part of an esports team called Hyper Esports. All this other good stuff. If any of you guys are interested, definitely go and check out some of the other content. Again, the first Krikeycast, if you guys want to definitely check that out, links are in description. please do check that out. It is much appreciated. I will be doing a lot more of these podcasts, and for episode 3 will be very interesting because I may have a guest as well too for the third podcast. I'm not going to say who exactly, but it's going to be very interesting, and we're going to see what goes down and what happens there. So, of course, thank you guys so much. Again, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. We're listening. And I'll check you guys out then later. Peace out.